Welcome to this session. I am Professor Naval Kishore from School of Management Studies, IGNOU, New Delhi. So you have already learnt about the functional departmentation as well as product departmentation. Now let us continue with the territory departmentation. You must have heard about the territory. That means sometimes the company may be organized into a number of divisions located in different areas. This is also known as geographical departmentation. And territory departmentation is useful for banks, insurance companies, transport companies, etc., where the focus is more on a particular location, particular territory. It may be divided into zones, divisions, branches, etc., For example, Life Insurance Corporation of India has followed territorial departmentation in the organization of its activities. What happens in the Life Insurance Corporation, if you analyze the departmentation structure of the Life Insurance Corporations, then you may find that there may be North Division, there may be South Division, there may be West Division, there may be East Division, and that may be further based on that activities, there may be further zonal also. So you go further into the zone. And now by creating that, what you do that, you could take care activities in that particular division, particular zone, either it is east-west, north-south, or either it is a further divided into a few states may be clubbed together and zone may be created. So it may be more also in addition to this north, west, south, east, etc. Now what are the advantages of this territorial departmentation? First, it helps in achieving the benefits of local operation. For example, if your departmentation has been created that okay, these are the north departments, and now northern zone is there, then in that northern zone, whatever would be the local operations, local requirement, accordingly your LIC activities can do there. Accordingly, the banking activities can do more work. Sometimes suppose there is a requirement of more loans in that north zone. So now the bank may focus that activities more in the north zone. Similarly, sometimes deposit is more in that east zone or south zone or west zone. So when the deposit is more there, then accordingly you can manage that activity. Sometimes industrial activities would be more, microfinancing would be more in the some of the area. So depending upon the local requirement or local operations, you meet the demand or requirement of the people. Next, can meet local demands more effectively, as I gave you the example of that microfinance. In some of the rural areas, some of the zone, there may be more demand of the microfinance. So in that particular zone, that bank may focus more on that microfinance activities. Next, better coordination of activities in a locality through the setting of a regional division. So there may be coordination may be facilitated. There may be better coordinations because that regional division, you are very much aware of that particular regional division, activities of that regional division. Therefore, the coordination may be facilitated. Next is facilitate the expansion of business in various regions. The business, if you want to expand the business in a particular, let's say north zone or south zone, you can expand that into that particular region because you are aware of the requirement of that particular region. Next is beneficial from the point of view of country's economic development. Obviously, sometimes for example railway is there, so railway may just work more or provide the facilities or services more in a particular area where the rail facility is not there or where the rail facility is underutilized. So in that area you may provide more rail facilities, or if there is a industrialization point of view also, if some of the area is missing, they do not have much development, so in that area the government may provide that services, that manufacturing unit, that operational unit, etc., so that that area also may be developed properly according to the other areas. Let us see the disadvantages. The disadvantages are: first, duplication of physical facilities. Obviously, sometimes what happens east, west, north, south, if you are doing that, then there may be sometimes the facilities, there may be duplicity of those facilities also in the different zones. Next is uneconomical operation. Sometimes if the organization is not very large, in that case there is a possibility that there may be uneconomical work or operations in a particular area, because there may not be sufficient work in the one particular area, but still you have divided, you have made the departmentation in that area, so you have to run that activities. Next is problem of integration between various regional offices. Obviously, if there are too much of the regional offices, now again the integration of those regional activities may be very difficult for you. Next is lack of talented personnel to take charge of regional department. Sometimes what happens, the competent persons may not be there to look after the whole region, or in some of the region there may be very competent persons, or in some of the region there may not be that much competent persons who will handle the whole operations of that particular region or particular zones. Next is problems in providing centralized services to various departments. Sometimes what happens, the centralized services may not be provided because it is a different zone. So as a result of the different zones, the centralized services may not be provided to all the zones simultaneously. Now next departmentation is your customers departmentation. What you do in the customers departmentation, you separate departments and you create to serve the needs of particular customers. Here the focus is customers. So you have a separate departments which you have created for serving the need and requirement of particular customers. In this department, managers just try to satisfy the customer's requirement more conveniently and successfully. For example, when you visit a mall, you will find that in the departmental store of that mall, if it is a textiles or it is a garment shop, then you will find that under that garments you have the garments for various age groups. It may be children, it may be male, it may be female, there may be what is called that for the old people, there may be for the fashionable people, youngsters, so on and so forth. And now what you are just trying to do there, that in your departmental store, if some female visits, what you do that, you send them to the ladies department. Now all those varieties of the ladies garments should be made available there, and they may choose, they may identify, they may select for their own purpose. In that way, if male goes gents department, if female goes to the female department, if children go to the children department, if youngsters go to that particular department, in that way what you are just trying to do, that you are trying to serve the customers in the most convenient way, and customers also feel happy that they will get their own products of their own choice easily there when they directly go to that particular department. Now let us see the advantages. The advantages are: consider the needs of baffling variety of customers. because there may be the varieties of customers. If you want to buy for the children, obviously it becomes sometimes very difficult for you. So if you go to the children section, you can see the mannequins and all that, you can see the display, and it becomes very easy for you to select a particular product. Next is concentrate on clearly identified and potential customers. You may focus on that, you know that this sort of the person should be visiting here. For example, if there is a children department, you know that the children would be coming here, so you may create such scenario there that children may like that particular department. Next is easier to develop rapport with attractive and resourceful customers. Obviously, when the department is different, if you send somebody to the ladies department, now it becomes easier for you to establish a rapport that what kind of ladies garments he or she required there. So your resources, you can make that attractive so that the ladies, they feel comfortable there and they find it easier to select some of the items for herself. Next is highly useful in customer oriented organization. Obviously, whenever there is a fashion sort of the things where the customers, particular customers, they may have the different choices, they may have the different liking and disliking. So in that way, the customer oriented organization, it becomes easier for you to serve them. Disadvantage: almost impossible to consider all the customers, their interests, habits and customs. Obviously, sometimes it may be very difficult to you to analyze the liking, disliking, interest, disinterest, habits of the customs, etc. of the customers, and in that case, you may not able to focus on the particular habits only. Next, coordination problems between sales personnel and production people. Obviously, sometimes there may be the problem of the coordination because the sales people may have different requirement and production people may not be able to serve those products which the sales people may want immediately for their own department. So this coordination problem sometimes may arise due to lack of understanding between the salesperson and production person. Next, discriminate between rich and poor customer. Sometimes there may be discrimination between the rich and poor customers because if you provide varieties to the rich people, for them it becomes easier to select that, but in the same time the poor customers, if the prices are high, it may become difficult for the poor customers. So therefore there may be some discrimination between rich and poor. Next is your process or equipment departmentation. The process or equipment departmentation are, in this department, the activities are grouped on the basis of various manufacturing process. For example, if there are manufacturing unit, so there may be various processes involved in the manufacturing unit, and based on all those processes, you classify that process into different unit and you create the department. Similar types of labor and equipment are brought together. Obviously, the labor who are involved in particular unit of that particular department, now they may be involved in that particular department or particular unit itself, so that he is able to perform the similar sort of the activities. Next, a manufacturing enterprise may departmentalize its activities on the basis of production process of equipment involved. This refers that when you are going for the manufacturing, and now in all those manufacturing there may be different processes of the manufacturing. For example, even if you are going to manufacture this pen, then the body may be different sometimes, and what is called the gel, inside the gel may be manufactured, so there may be hardcore plastic, there may be the gel, there may be the what is called integration, that means all this together, and then there may be packaging. Similarly, if you take the example of what is called that textiles industry, then in the textiles industry you will find that there may be spinning, there may be weaving, there may be calendaring, there may be dyeing. Now, in the spinning you do with that, what is called that, immediately when you take the cotton, then all those activities related to spinning may fall here. Then all those activities of weaving may fall in the weaving section. Then after the weaving, what you do, you make it thinner in that area of the clothing area. So you go for the calendaring, and once calendaring is finished, you may go for the dyeing. That means where you provide the color to those clothes. So all activities may be divided into several sections, and the similar activities may again put together, like a spinning activities, all those activities may put together. Similarly, weaving may put together. Similarly, calendaring may put together, and similarly, dyeing may put together. Now let us see the advantages, and the advantages are: first, helpful when machines or equipment used require special operating skill. If you see the textile, obviously the weaving may require different skills, calendaring may require different skills. So if that sort of requirement is there by the machines or equipment, then in that case it may be very helpful. Next, enables the organization to gain the advantages of specialization. Obviously, the weaving work as well as the labor who are performing that work, they are together. So the person who is carrying out that work, he becomes specialized in the weaving activities. Similarly, the person who is involved in the dyeing process, now he or she gets a specialization in the dyeing activities. Next, optimum maintenance of equipment and resources. Obviously, if dyeing machines are used for the dyeing purposes itself, in that case there may be optimum utilization of that particular equipment as well as resources. Next is better suited to manufacturing company. Obviously, this sort of the departmentation may be better useful or suited for the manufacturing company, because in the manufacturing company, what happens, the production activities may be divided into different sub-activities. The disadvantages are: first, makes coordination of various functions and products difficult. Sometimes the process may be too much lengthy, and as a result of the lengthy process, the coordination activities may be very difficult by the managers. Next, results in conflicts between different managers at different levels. Now, because the process has been already created different processes. Now, as a result of the different processes, because when you are supplying, then you are supplying an integrated products to the market. But as a result of different processes, there may be conflict among the managers who are involved in a performance of a particular process, particular department, particular, for example, weaving, dyeing, calendaring, all these things say they should go together. Now, if there is a conflict between the person who is looking after the weaving activities and the person who is looking after calendaring activities, or the person who is looking after the dyeing activities, that it may be difficult for the organization also. So you have learnt about the departmentation. Now let us see how can you choose a departmentation. That means what should be the basis of choosing of a departmentation. Now the basis or the factors which decides for identification of the particular departmentation may be: first, specialization. If some specialization is required in a particular activities, in that case, what you can do, you can put those activities in a unit in such a way that a particular person will do that specialized work only. As a result, this specialization may bring efficiency in your organization. Next is economy. You have to think over that the departments provide you economy in such a way that within that particular cost, you are able to perform better than the other activities being completely separated with each other. So by putting together, you may attain the economies in performing that particular activities. That means wastage is also reduced in terms of cost also, you are able to economize your cost also. Next is appreciation of key areas. Sometimes what happens, some of the key areas may be there in your organization, and that key area may require proper knowledge of that performing of that key area. For example, if production activity is there, if financing activity is there, if marketing activity is there, obviously all these are the key areas of any of the organization. Then if there is a production unit, obviously a specialized person would be in that production. In finance, there will be a person who is working in finance. In marketing, there will be a person who is performing the marketing activity. So these are the key areas. Next, minimum conflicts. Obviously, you need to create the department in such a way that everything is clearly and well defined, so that the conflict is being minimized. Next, coordination. Obviously, the coordination is a very important activity in all those departmentation, because ultimately the departmentation is created, the department is created for coordinating the whole activities in the best possible way. And departments should also, or departmentation should also be created in such a way that facilitate the coordination in the whole organization. Next, control. Obviously, if there is any deviation from the standard format of performance of the job, obviously you need to apply the techniques of the control. And once you apply the techniques of the control, then the deviation can be controlled, or even monitoring process. For the monitoring process also, control mechanism may be required, and it should be in such a way that the work is done smoothly, efficiently and effectively. Human consideration. Obviously, human consideration is very important in any of the activities of the organization. For example, sometimes you have the informal groups. There may be the value system, there may be the cultural pattern, etc., etc. So in that case, you need to consider the attitude, values, culture of the people, and accordingly you can manage the whole activities of the departmentation. Now let us see the benefits of departmentation. The benefits are, obviously the first benefit is about specialization. You have already learnt about specialization, because one task may be performed by, or one similar way of the performing a task may be done by one group of the person, and obviously by performing the same task he attained the specialization. Next is administrative control, and control also, because it just you develop the standardized controlling mechanism. So for the purpose of achievement of a particular objectives, now you have the whole range of administrative controlling, so that within that time limit, within that required time and resources, you are able to complete that task more efficiently. Next, fixation of responsibility. If you have divided the work and into the different chunk of the work, different units, and authority and responsibility also you have well defined there. Now it becomes easier for the manager to identify the responsibility or authority who has been authorized to do what, and accordingly the manager may just see that this person has not been able to perform. So the responsibility may be fixed to the particular person. Next is freedom or autonomy. Obviously, the autonomy is given to the department in such a way that they may take decisions at their own places, and as a result that within that freedom and autonomy, the person or the unit head, they get the work done in their own department. Next is development of managers. Obviously, in the departmentation, what happens, you are performing that job, and as a result, you become very much acquainted with all those activities of particular department. As a result, you may be able to develop yourself in all those activities. As a result, the organization or the general manager may think over that, okay, this person has done this much of the work, and he is very much competent, and he is very much efficient person also. So the promotion and all that may be also related to that, and you may get the higher jobs as well. Thank you very much.